Hello, guys. Welcome to the League of Extraordinary Atheists for Humanism, where myself, Christine, and my beautiful co-host, Mac, attempt to apply logic and reason to everything from religion to politics and so much in between. Today, we have an amazing, different kind of thing for you. We're always talking about demonstrating things to be true and facts and how we know them to be true, and talking about current events and what we know to be true about that current event. Sorry, Mr. Bean's very excited as well. Tonight we're going to do something different. We're going to do an opinion show. We've covered so much already in 2023 and years before. So, I mean, we're going to attempt to touch on the strikes, Trump's legal problems, Scientology, how what's his name just got 30 years, and how this might actually be a way to start chipping away at the mafia that they have become. Climate change, climate legislation, Ukraine, Russia, foreign policy, of course, international conflicts and wars. There's so much going on right now. And just for fun, Bobert's Boobgate or Vapegate or whoever we want to call
it.
Gropegate. Just for fun, I think we should end with some salaciousness. Since this is an opinion show, it literally will be my feelings and opinions on whatever we're talking about, and I don't need to demonstrate them to be true. So how about that? Hello, Mac, my beautiful co-host, Mac at Sack.
You're too kind.
I
hardly did my hair today. I brushed it 3 times.
I'm with you. This is air dry. This is the wet dog look. It's just
and
so hot.
It's such a luscious mane.
Luscious mane.
Luscious mane.
Luscious. Let me tell you, if my hair was this length or shorter, I couldn't let it air dry, because it's what we call MBH, monkey butt hair.
Monkey butt.
Kinky curly, you can kind of see some of it, and then in the middle is wavy, and on top is for the most part straight. So yeah, it doesn't make any sense. But if it's short, it doesn't grow long, it grows big, and the underneath is so short it will hold it all up. It's no wonder I went into cosmetology. I said, listen, I got to learn how to deal with this. Let me get a pro certificate, and then if I could do this, I could do anyone's. So
I can't deal with it.
How have you been?
I've been doing fairly well, yeah. Just keeping busy.
How's married life?
I feel like so much has happened over like the last couple of weeks. But all in all, I'm doing well. Married life is going well. Thank you for asking. I mean, for those of you who don't know, we also bought a home this year. So it's been expensive. Just buying a home and having a wedding and a honeymoon. And just having 6 kids is expensive, especially in this economy.
Yeah.
But we have managed, and we are, we're kicking butt, I feel like. So, yeah, we're doing good. How about you, Christy Santiago?
I'm doing. Some days are good, sometimes they're not. Yeah, I'm doing. I'm definitely doing. Today was a good one. I woke up really early and looked at the clock, and it was before 8 o'clock, and I'm like, I think I'm allergic. I was like, I'm allergic, I'm having hives. I'm like, have a hive. I gotta go back to sleep. So I took Mr. Bean for a walk, fed him his breakfast, and laid down listening to this audiobook I'm listening to. And I don't remember how far I got into it, because I woke up which is funny. You know how some people wake up at the same time every day, or they see 11:11 on the clock all the time. It doesn't mean anything. It happens. I see 1, 2, 3, 4. So at 12:30.
I see 1, 2, 3, 4. It's one of my favorite times.
Yeah,
1, 2, 3, 4. 11.
Yeah, same. And when I set my alarm, I will set it for, if it has to be like if I have to wake up at 8, I'll wake up at I'll try to do oh, I'm sorry, if I have to wake up at 11, let's say, or 10 in the morning, I'll do 10, 11, or if it's 11, 11, 12, if it's 12, 1, 2, 3, 4, I don't know, I'm silly. But yeah, I saw the time 1, 2, 3, 4, and it made me smile, and I couldn't go back to sleep. So today's actually a good day. Sometimes I don't sleep at all, and I actually knew I could fall back asleep. That is one of don't take sleep for granted, you guys. To know, like, oh, I can't wait to fall asleep, and knowing you can is such a precious thing, and it's rare for me. So today, it was a good day, and I have food in my belly, and I have an adult drink. Yeah. So, you guys, I guarantee at least one of us is going to have an epic rant on something tonight, considering our opinions. Yeah, definitely. So let's talk about the strikes. Have you been paying attention to the 3 big auto strikes at all? Have you been? Yeah, isn't it?
Yeah, it's one of my favorite things. Oh no, this is that Rachel and I were looking at together a little bit, and one of her friends were talking about it as well. So it was really awesome that's the video that we had checked out during lunch one day. Well, all of the kids were at school. We had time to watch a video together, and it got brought up in conversation later that day. So I've been trying to send her more on it. But yeah, it's wild. What's the dude's name? Sean Shane,
the leader of the was it
of the evil union, UAW.
Yeah. UAW. Yeah, my dyslexia messes it up all the time. Yes, I mean, they changed the rules. The reason why he's so good is because he's chosen by the people of the union. They changed the rules so many years ago, or recently though, in recent years, that it wasn't going to be chosen. It would be elected by the people, which they did have elections, but it wasn't how it is now. This is literally people power. And when Reagan came in 1980, there were strikes, air traffic control strikes. They were overworked and underpaid, and they deserved to be heard, to be sat down together as equals and talk about what they needed, and then negotiated what they needed. And Reagan actually came in and said, if you strike, you're fired.
Yep.
Which we've changed the laws now. That is called union busting, and it's illegal.
Yeah.
And you saw Nikki Haley this week. She literally said the quiet part out loud. She said, I'm a union buster. I chose these companies to come to my state knowing that they weren't unionized, because I didn't want to, pretty much upset the apple cart, which would have helped all of the wages rise in her state. If you look at Nikki Haley's state, well, then as far as education, work, life expectancy, mothers dying in child, they're one of the worst. They're in the worst 10. I think they're 48 in a couple of them. But yes, Mr. Mack.
That had reminded me that when Nikki Haley said that, this is something that the Republican Party just thrives on. They demonize, and we could make a joke about it. I'd like to try. That they don't like to unionize, they like to demonize. Right? That is their organization process. And then what they do is harp away at what they have demonized. Unions are selfish, rapacious middleman between the worker and their ever-loving boss's employer. And I mean, all the union does is just try to get money for itself and lobby for things like workers' rights. And look, we need to make a law in some states that's called right to work. Right? Like, they're so good at their messaging. After they demonize something they don't like, they harp away at a fancy little slogan like right to work, which is right to work for less than collective bargaining would allow you to work for. And they just fucking run with it. And right to work sounds so good. Pro-life,
It even
pro-life.
sounds,
I'm pro-life,
pro-worker. And
but
it's not, it sounds pro-worker, the right to work. Here's a law, here's legislation to protect the right to work. But if
it's
you
kind of
actually read the legislation, it is anti-worker. It is pro-corporation, pro-boss. Yeah, it is awful.
so okay. Hey, look, Christy warned everyone. We're gonna go on a rant. I think now's a good segue, because we mentioned pro-life, but one that we don't talk about quite as much is pro-choice. It sounds great. It really does.
Yes.
Right.
Pro-freedom.
But the pro-choice, pro-life, and now I'm not talking pro-choice like you would from a left-leaning side. I'm saying pro-choice to choose your school, right?
Right.
Yeah, you can see where I was going with this, right?
Which just tears apart our public education. It is awful.
They want to make sure that you have a choice where to take your kids to school, which I'm fine with choices to that to at least a certain extent. And then also a choice to be anti-vax or not, right? So when we're talking about messaging like this, you really kind of got to dig into the weeds a little bit and figure out what they're talking about on their side. And when you're talking about school choice, it is what it is this taking funding away from schools to put them in small classes where private citizens who are upper middle class and higher, usually, because those are the ones who have the money to send their kids to private schools,
right,
can do that. And it takes away from our human infrastructure system of public education for everyone. So some people can get better education, or sometimes so-called better education,
right,
just because they can spend more money on it. And when something is a public right, it shouldn't be for sale. That's the problem. I'm all for having school choices. Like, I feel like maybe there should be some schools that have smaller classes. Maybe those should be more reserved for kids with IEDs and people who really need those smaller classes and special needs, without trying to alienate the kids at the same time. So you have to strike a balance when you're talking about this kind of thing. But to allow there to be a paywall, because and the way that we do it now, there is a paywall, and it is really only for the more well-to-do families and kids.
Well, I can explain how it works. So what they did was they said every district has different funding. You know, if there are more property taxes for wealthier neighborhoods, the school has more funding. It's disgusting. However, what they do is they take that area and they divide that area. Here's the total amount for public school for taxes. And then how many kids are going to public school, how many kids, and they divide it. Each kid is worth this much per year, whether it's 80,000, 47,000, which is some areas, 120,000. That's that kid. And now that kid, per the legislation, when he or she goes to a private school or a different school, that funding now will go to that school. And like Max said, I'm okay with some school choice as well. I'm a mother, my kids aren't in school anymore, but I understand that. However, I am a firm advocate that not a penny should be going to any magical thinking education. None. If it is not demonstrated to be factual education, it should not be able to accept any of our tax money. So that's where I draw the line.
Yeah,
period. And I keep it in the public funding.
Right. Yeah. Well, yeah, because we're supposed to have a separation of church and state. And when you mix those two, then you don't have separation between church and state. Because there's so many caveats that we have to have with this, because if you can have a church that can get into state, well, then the law is going to be open enough for that to flip. You're going to find a way to get state into your church, which I think as a balance, that's how it should be. If you can get one into the other, then you need to be able to do it the other way around. But I feel like just about everyone on every side agrees that we don't want state and church, and we don't want church and state. So we need to try really hard to not cross those boundaries. So with what Christy is saying, yeah, we don't want public education funds going towards any kind of religion in school that's not taught from a secular standpoint. And that's saying secular by like a more like mediator standpoint. We don't even need to talk about necessarily how true anything is in school. I feel like there should be classes on religion in general, so people understand that there are differences. It's kind of like, diversity, social studies. That should be in social studies. But as far as learning any kind of commitment or faith based teachings in school, it doesn't belong. It should be more or less banned because of the church and state. That shouldn't be banned from kids learning it. It just shouldn't be in a public school setting. That's why you guys have Sunday school. That's why you guys have Wednesday night church, right? Kids have a chance to learn that. And also like in daycares, we don't make, there's so many like church daycares that you can send your kids to if you want them to get an early start in that. I wouldn't want to send my kids to that, but everyone should be free to do something like that. Any kind of daycare, even after school hours, those things are fine because we're a free country. And as secularists, we support that. We support your right to do that, but we don't want it
public funds should not be funding it. Whether it's
Muslim, ask a Jew,
after school care, daycare, any of that is publicly funded should not have any. I don't care if it's Hindu, Islam. I don't care. None of it.
I know of at least one school in our area that it's a public school, but it is predominantly Catholic, and they have a lot of Catholic traditions at the public school. So people who are uncomfortable with that have to suck it the fuck up, because otherwise they're shunned or just they feel like oddballs. And that's not fair to the kids or the families who don't want that, because it shouldn't be in public schools.
Right.
But yeah, it's the choice. It's the choice that sounds good, but it kind of it presses on other things that shouldn't be pressed upon in certain settings.
Speaking of religions, so have you been paying attention to the Scientology shenanigans?
Nothing on the Scientology stuff at all. I didn't know this was a topic.
I am because I haven't watched it in many years. But the 70s show, I was a massive fan.
Oh yeah.
I loved it. I loved everything about it. I mean, even though I wasn't a kid in the 70s, my mom was 15 when she had me. A month later she turned 16, but this was 76. So my mom was 15 in 76. So I got a lot of that, culture, because she was a teenager during this time. I didn't wear bell bottoms growing up. However, they came back in 99 and 2000, 2003, 2004, so I was very excited. And then the 70s, I loved it. Now, when I heard, I had heard things, but they were just from, people saying, oh, he's the guy, what's his name, with the curly hair that just got, he 30 years. And these aren't, okay, Bill Cosby drugged ladies and did horrible things, including rape to women. This fucker not only drugged them, but one of them he held at gunpoint at the same time. Right. And apparently there were all of these stories, other women who he had done, not so good things to. They weren't assaulted. They were able to, they got that feeling and didn't put themselves in that position. But that doesn't mean that those girls that happened to did something wrong or didn't get that feeling. It has nothing to do with it. It's his fault, 100%. However, the reason why this religion made me switch to this is, okay, so Scientology has been, and these are factual statements. However, I'm going to tell you my opinion about them. They have been like a brick wall for secular authorities to break through. The head guy, whatever he's called, his wife has been missing for over 2 decades. Not that she's dead. She tried to get away, and you guys should look into the story on your own. If you're like me, you've probably seen the documentaries, and her family and friends really want to know where she is. Her husband's still a leader out on podiums talking about everyone, or talking everywhere to his congregation.
David
And
Miscavige, right?
Yes, and she is being held apparently in some mountain cabin that no one can talk to her. It's terrifying. So, and even the authorities. Okay, let's say a secular person, my sister who lives in Texas, went missing.
Mhm.
We could get the authorities involved, and if we knew or had some information that she might be held somewhere, we could go get her, or at least talk to her. Do you want to be here or do you don't? Like, they won't. And it's just beyond me. Now they have teams, not a team, teams of lawyers. And you guys know, just like the Mormon church, the Scientology church is ran like a mafia as well, and they are multi-billionaires. I mean, they just are. And so they've been able to grease certain things to keep it moving, and pay other things to stop it from moving. And they intimidate, and if you try to leave, there's one girl that grew up in it. If anybody wants the information of the story, just hit me up privately and I'll send you the information. She even talks herself. She grew up there. She doesn't know anything else. And when she actually talked to, she called them normal people, they had come in to help film this thing. They had sat her down and said, wait, you're in your 20s. Is it true that you work like from 8 o'clock in the morning to 12 at night? Yeah. Is it true that you make $47 a week? Yeah. Okay, well, here's a lawyer, and this isn't, and once she was like, I got to get out. She literally found a parking lot that didn't have enough cameras in this specific area, climbed into a random person's trunk. She just started opening cars to find one, waited 2 hours or more for whoever, she doesn't know this person, to get in their car and drive. Maybe she didn't wait 2 hours. She was in the trunk while he drove for 2 hours. She didn't even come out until he got to where he was going. To this day, she said she doesn't even know his name. He was mortified. You've been in there this whole time. How can I help you? And that was the only way she was going to get out. And within the next 24 hours, she had people following her everywhere she went. These are terrifying people. That all being said, now with this particular investigation, they've been able to break down quite a bit and chip away and get information, paperwork, files. Now, this is nothing compared to what we need to get as a society to make them transparent and let the world know this cult is sick. But it is something. So that is how I feel about, he got 30 years. And back to the 70s show, Mila and what's his name? The cute Kelso.
Ashton Kutcher,
Yeah,
Kelso.
they're together, him,
Yeah.
Mila, and the Ukrainian princess. And he had been convicted. All the evidence, the jury came convicted. Then Scientology, the institution, had there was like 80 individuals that wrote the judge on his behalf to be lenient with him, and those two, Kutcher and Mila, were part of that. And yeah, they came out yesterday or today saying that this isn't on the jury or their yeah, of course they did. They're like, they didn't know that it would be read by anyone but the judge, and it got put out there for everyone to see, and they're mortified, as they should be. But also, it's a cult, and cult said you have to do this or you'll be interrogated and put into, they literally put people in solitary confinement.
Yeah.
Because you have aliens in you. Like, meet my more. Wait, what is the, you guys know in the chat, what is their, what is his name?
Oh, shit.
Right?
I know
You
that.
do.
It starts with an N, doesn't it?
Oh
You would have
God.
asked me if you wouldn't have asked me. Oh.
Right, of course. More time.
Oh.
Okay. Anyone.
Xenu.
Xenu. Yes.
Got it.
Xenu. Good stuff.
I was about to tell you, like, if anyone posts it, don't say
Mark.
it. I'm gonna figure it out.
Riley, his name is not Mark.
Got this. Yeah.
Should be.
Nanu.
Oh no! Hey,
Nanu.
Nanu.
No, it's not Mick and Morty. Don't put that on that.
Rick and Morty.
So okay, so yeah, the Scientologist is nuts.
Hey, not Rick and Morty is the cartoon. We're talking about that. Wait,
so,
what is the name of that show? Not Rick and Morty, that's the cartoon. The other one. Nanu.
Mork and Mindy.
Mork and Mindy, that's what it is. Mork and Mindy. Lord Xenu. Yes. Lord Xenu. Right. Okay. Yeah, I think that those women that came forward, they wanted to go to the cops and they were prevented from going to the cops and tried. They were told it was their fault. They were interrogated. They were followed around. They were belittled. They were made to feel disgusting. 12 years of this went by before they actually went to authorities. Like, this should not be allowed to even exist in 2023. A cult like that. I mean, God, Hubbard, he's a character all to himself. He wrote science fiction. Like, I love science fiction, although I'm not going to follow the leader of science fiction books that I love because they're real. Like, oh my God. Although Quidditch would be really cool if it was real. I'm just saying. It's not Leviosa, it's Leviosa. Okay.
So real quick, just to add a little clarity to all this, we were talking about Shelley Miscavige.
Yes.
Who's been missing for 15 years since 2007, and it looks like Leah Remini is the one who filed her missing.
Oh God, that woman is brave.
Her coverage on Scientology, you should totally check it out. Also, I know this was a good one. Joe Rogan's interview of
it was so good.
Ron Miscavige, David's father, was fantastic. He really gives all the deets on how he got out. But another one,
Leah and him together on Joe Rogan. She's been on there, and yes, watch both of them.
I remember that. There's another one too that I got to watch like live, which was really awesome. Was non sequiturs
with. I did see that, but I don't remember who it was.
With Steve McRae and Kyle. I know those two. They had Ron Miscavige on.
Oh, the dad, yeah, okay.
Before Joe Rogan did.
Yeah, no, I do remember.
I think it was before Joe Rogan did.
No, I think it was too.
Yeah, and that was awesome. Because that was
they had some good
such a fucking mind-blowing story for our little community to get something cool like that. That was one of the coolest interviews that we had in our community at the time. Anyways,
the misconception that something has to be wrong for you to fall for a cult is a misconception. However, they do prey on people who are going through something, or have just lost someone, or are devastated, or searching. They do. However, that doesn't mean if you are going through trauma or just experienced trauma that you're not smart. It's not at all. And, you'll find that these people that have walked away ask themselves, how could I be so stupid? And it's not. It's set up to do that to you. It's
It is. And
terrifying.
so I would like to point out, though, because I think it's important for our viewers to know, because sometimes you ask yourself, "Am I in a cult?" Right? Or you'll ask yourself, "Are my parents in a cult?" or something similar. And something to keep in the back of your mind when you're trying to. So if you guys don't already know what the BITE model is, right? It's
Yeah.
behavior control, information control, something else control, and emotional control. And if you find all of those kinds of control in a group, that's the BITE model, and that's probably a cult. I really like that model to help describe what a cult is, or to define what a cult is. If you haven't known about that, please check it out. The BITE model, it's spelled like it sounds. But I feel like it's important to caveat. Sometimes you're in a group and it's not a cult, and then it becomes one. So things can start to, or groups can start to have cult-like behavior and not quite be a cult yet, and anywhere in between, right? So, people change. People make up groups. Groups change over time too. Sometimes they get better, sometimes they get worse. So you really just kind of gotta keep your eyes open for the people that you care about and yourself. And so something that's interesting, and I'd love to tie this together sometime. But a lot of people who are in abusive relationships suffer the same emotional control that you would suffer in a cult. Sometimes if you are in a cult that's particularly Christian or Islamic, there's a very high patriarchy standard.
Yeah.
And that puts women at the lowest end of the cult. And it's very abusive there. But sometimes you don't even need religion, obviously, to be in an abusive or controlling relationship, but you can still find behavioral, information, and emotional. I always forget the T, I'm sorry. Those types of control in a relationship. And it could be under a parent, could be under a spouse, could be under a sibling, right? These are just types of control that people use over people to manipulate them, and manipulation is a form of abuse. So I don't know. The way we were talking just made me feel like I should caveat that whole thing, because I feel like it's very important. It's not
Shield.
every day.
I saw someone in the chat. One of my oldest chat buddies.
Heat shield?
Heat shield, yes.
Yeah.
RB was before, but Heat Shield, yeah. Heat Shield is purple, and Smitty, Riley, and Maya was here. Titan Uranus, which is one of the best names ever, by the way, because I'm doing it right now. No, I'm just kidding. Okay, let's
Anuses for eyes.
get it. Okay, have you been paying attention to Trump? Sorry, I almost said Trump.
I try not to.
Yeah, I mean,
I'm getting pretty sick of it again. I'm trying not to get every update because every update's small. I know that his numbers, his poll numbers are going up, like we figured they would.
Not everywhere. He is
not
number
everywhere.
5th in New Hampshire. 5th.
Yeah. New Hampshire's going to be an odd one because, I mean, Biden's not first in New Hampshire, is he?
I mean, as far as the Republicans, Trump is number 5. Biden would win if the election was held right now. In New Hampshire.
In New Hampshire?
Yes.
Okay. Because I know that he had, done pissed New Hampshire off.
Yes. He did. Trying to switch the, yeah. I mean,
Um,
whatever. Okay,
as
so he
far
did
as
have a rally this past week, and he didn't want any of the video or pictures posted to his site because it literally was at like 47% occupancy. Trump. So, I mean,
another,
if you're like me, you think that it's kind of like a little bit giggly, only because it doesn't matter to me, but it matters to him.
yeah, it
So,
does.
yeah, it matters.
So, what I want to ask you, since we're doing opinions tonight and we're talking about Trump, what do you think we should do about Trump, given the charges, given the unfortunate timing that it takes to put an investigation against a
Right.
former president together, to land when it did, whether it's conspiratorial or not. Um, to me, it doesn't matter either way. I mean, I think every president should be challenged like this if they broke some goddamn laws, especially big ones. Um, I'll just keep sharing since Christy will be right back. I think that he's done enough damage as president just to the safety of our borders, because that's a humanitarian crisis that it's not waiting to happen. It has occurred, and it's killed a lot of people. Um, with the Grand Rio River, am I saying it right? Just closing off so much of the border to make the trek more treacherous. I feel like he should be tried for that.
Oh,
But I
yeah.
think that the shoot, what's it called when he doesn't hand over his or put his businesses in a blind trust?
Mm,
The emoluments clause, is that it?
yeah, emoluments.
Yes. Oh yeah, the emoluments clause. I feel like he should have been like impeached over that right away
100,000 billion trillion percent. Yes.
because it's easy. It's
And it was
simple.
demonstrated in real time.
Yeah. I think that
Enriching himself, themselves, his entire
Saudi Arabia.
family. Oh, Saudi Arabia, I mean, that's just one. The 2 billion plus, he gets like a $250 million a year to manage the 2 billion. He's not even qualified to do such a thing.
Just
All
the
of the
amount of fraud
intelligence
he's
told
committed.
MBS, don't do it. He's not qualified. You're going to lose the money. But he did.
The
There's new information now about Trump. Speaking about MBS, it makes me remember MBS at the same time that things were being moved into the White House, boxes and boxes of documents. This is around the time that Trump would have a group of people in the White House by the fireplace going over and then throwing them in the fireplace. Documents. And this is corroborated by not just one or two or three, but like 4 or 5 people that have been in this room during this. After they read them, notes are taken and they were burnt. Now, at the same time, think about all those boxes of documents. And when lawyers are telling Trump the government can subpoena you, they're asking for these documents and you don't want to give them. And then Trump having these people, now it's out now, saying, bring this one to me, going through it, bring this one to me, going through it. And then at the same time telling his lawyer, can't we just tell them we don't have them? And then put in MBS the $2 billion and Jared and Ivanka getting over 20 different patents in China. It takes Chinese people 20 and 30 years on that list. She got it in days. So when we talk about the Biden crime family, which I'm not a Biden fan, if there's crime, go after them. If there's corruption, go after them. So much self-enrichment going on in the past presidency, and they're talking about he's enriching himself with all we know that you did. And I feel like the statement, every accusation coming out of a MAGA's mouth is, something they've done. It is, and they're pretty much just saying what they did. And then go back to the 70s and 80s with a lot of the Christian right saying, let's just accuse them of everything we're doing. We'll muddy the waters.
Mm-hmm. Look, so here's a thought. How would you feel about, even if no one was convicted after being president? What if we had Mike Pence as president and he does a bunch of Mike Pence racist bullshit and started some wars, and we put him on trial because that's what we do with presidents now, and he just has the right to go to the courtroom like, look, yeah, I know I broke some rules and I broke some I did some unprecedented things, but I was trying to do what I thought was best for the country and make his fucking case. I would like that to be the norm a lot more than just ignoring everything the president did because that's the president. He had to do his job and make hard decisions, man. Like, if he has to break a few eggs, what the fuck ever, I guess. Right? No, go in there, tell us why you broke these eggs, which are human skulls, and make a fucking case for yourself. Otherwise, we're just gonna lock you away if we don't like what you have to say. Or if you don't want to say anything, you lose by default. I feel like that should be, and if anyone would love to put up the excuse of like, well, we can't do that, then no one's going to want to be president. And like, one, this bullshit. Like, there's going to be people like Mike Pence, is why I said this, who's like, oh, I felt like this has been my calling since I was, a small boy, with fuck ever, right? Some people are going to be called to public service, no matter what the consequences could be, and they'll be ready to make their case in court if they have to do anything. And that's fine. I would much rather have that and have less people think that this is a responsibility-free job.
Right.
This is one of the most responsible jobs that there should be. I can't even say that you can't have, because it looks like there are zero consequences for your actions if you are president. And Trump is challenging that because he's such a narcissistic fool that he can't help but just do Trump things. He's such a goddamn idiot.
And he's
challenging precedent in this way.
What's it called? What he does it all the time. When people, there's an actual word for it. He when he's talking, like just the interview he just did this past Sunday, it doesn't railroad them. There's an actual term for it.
Scapegoats, gaslights.
He gaslights the shit out of everyone. She's telling him, sir, that's not a thing. About the they even do abortions after the baby's born. No, they don't. And she could have, she said no, that's not. She said that no, that's not true, but she didn't. He was like, it's just he keeps going. He gaslights the shit out of them. He changes the subject. And when she tries to bring him back, or anyone tries to bring him back to reality, he gaslights them. He's like, no, listen, you're nasty, and he makes it their fault that he's not truthful. He is really good at manipulation. I loathe that fucker. I think he is one of the most disgusting, disturbing, dangerous men to hand power to. And that's my opinion. Yeah,
I'm sorry everyone had to watch me like rub my eyeball.
Well, you're fine.
I just thought about like, oh no.
We have with this election coming up, there's so much hanging on it. Not just us, but the whole world. If the wrong person gets power and says we're not going to help Ukraine, now you guys know I am not a warmonger. I don't think we should be helping any war. I think that we should be helping them to protect themselves from the invader without actually fighting. I do believe in that. The next person could say we're not going to help them at all. And then we have this person and this, ideology spreading across Eastern Europe, and then what? Then Europe, and then what? And then what? They're never going to be happy with just the Donbass region because they got Crimea. and Georgia and Belarus, and it's just going to keep going. It's terrifying. I think about that all the time. I'm not a Biden fan. However, I'm a good fan. I like the good to happen to the most people and the least amount of harm to happen to the least amount of people. And so I think about that all the time. It makes me really, really, really worried about what's happening. We have sitting elected officials saying that they would rather have Putin than Biden. I, blows my mind.
Astounding.
Mierda.
So let me ask you, since we're talking about this, and you mentioned Ukraine,
Yeah.
things like Aleppo and Yemen were very dear to our hearts. What do you think the U.S. should do? Like, what's your foreign policy on things like this?
Right. I mean,
Because we're both pretty anti-war. We don't want to get into a hot war, but also we don't want these things to happen. And like, I mean, I know there's at least a part of me that's just like, oh yeah, like smackdown, anyone's putting smackdown on others. Like, I have that in me to want to, to want that.
Nobody likes a bully. Humanists definitely do not like bullies.
Right. Yeah.
I live in reality enough to not to be able to see the hypocrisy of an American saying Putin shouldn't do this. I do live in reality. I know that we did Iraq and Afghanistan and Vietnam and even parts of Laos and many other clandestine bullshit of regime change and throwing CIA people in to upset, communities, if not nations. I understand that, but I do not support that behavior. And so I feel like I don't think that I'm better than, I just feel like I have more information and I'm able to have all of that information and then have an opinion after, educating and myself and being informed. My foreign policy would have to be individual countries and individual circumstances. However,
so like Yemen, can I ask for a specific?
Syria. However, I would start with our number one ally. You want to shoot journalists and people in an open air prison? No more funding.
Is that as far as you go? Is just no more funding?
I mean, yeah, I don't think we should go invade or anything. No, at all. However, diplomacy is first and foremost. We should never stop talking. Even if we don't agree with the ideology, we should never stop talking. And we should always make the best of a situation. Obama did a good thing with the Iran deal. He did. That was a good deal. And it wasn't just him. There were many nations involved. France was involved. Many nations got to, part of the nuclear group got to go in, unannounced and announced, to make sure that the enriched uranium was only going to this percentage, which could be for energy, for medicine, all the things that the scientists needed to do it for. And it was working. As of right now, I watched one channel after another channel, another talking head after another talking head, all conservatives or center right, saying that, how dare Biden pay them all these billions to get our people back. Now, Iran, and now they're going to know that if they kidnap people, we will just pay them. No, that's false. That is demonstratively false. This is their money, not ours, not taxpayer, not tax money. It is theirs that we froze because they weren't doing the right thing under sanctions. All we did was unfreeze it and let them have it.
This is, in essence, so when it's not reported like this, it is an example of manufacturing consent.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see. Messages. Chat just went away. And then I did want to, for foreign policy further goes, I like our stance. I support not every bit of it. Carpet bombs, literally, I felt like I was going to throw up. The fact that we are one of two nations that actually manufactures them because they are a war crime and we're supplying them. No, if it's a war crime, it's a war crime. They should not be manufactured. That makes my stomach fucking sick.
Right.
But I do also believe that the training we're doing for their military, the education that their military is getting from the experts that have taken their expertise over to teach them. They were a very new country. 2009 and then 2014, huge things happened. They were just starting, and I believe in democracy. I do. It's the best system we have currently. I can't think of another one where all of these masses of people who are very different can live together without them all having a voice. And so democracy is the best thing that we have. And I think that it's worth fighting for. Freedom is worth fighting for. And there is a despot coming into any area saying, you're going to speak this language, you're going to do this, you're going to be this way, you're not going to have your language, you're not going to have your identity, is fascism, is evil, is vile, it's a bully. It's a bully on a, a billion squared level. Like, it's just insane. So I do believe that people, countries, nations who have the ability, the experts to help with training, the funding to help give them the ammunition they need to fight, it's your responsibility to do that in a peace. Many of these nations that are helping are in peace right now. So manufacturing all these weapons for what? Now, I am against the military-industrial complex. I think that Eisenhower did a lot of good things and a lot of horrendous things. He was a Republican president, the last real conservative. He cared about the actual conservative ideas that you can look up and read and then see, yeah, he followed those, not whatever's happening right now to the Conservative Party. Not that I like that ideology or followed it or believed in it. He did, and he it could be demonstrated that he did. He thought that they were going to be the biggest problem that our democracy had, considering how much power they had at that time. He could see where they would be going. There's not just one or two or three classes of middlemen. There are thousands, and they're called lobbyists. And going away from foreign policy, the lobbyists, the only way I can think of to fix that, in my opinion, would be Citizens United getting overturned and getting money out of our politics, period. Like, every candidate, you get this many signatures, you're a candidate. This is how much money you're going to get. You have from this month to the election, whether it's 6 months or 8 months, it shouldn't be 2 years. Everyone gets the same amount of funding. It's tax funding. It's publicly funded. You can't spend any more, and you have to demonstrate that that's what that you use. And many other democracies do this. It's not unheard of. I think that it is something that we could easily do if we really wanted to, as a nation. So, oh, yeah. I don't know. Let's see. That's I don't know. Do you want to go into, we did that. I do want to, as far as international wars and conflicts, I hope you guys are paying attention to what's happening in Morocco right now. I will be covering it soon when we go back to regular, fact-based a show. It's quite I will try my best not to cry while covering it. Let's just say that human rights abuse is an understatement to what's happening. They are occupied. They've been occupied. They don't know anything else except for being occupied. And there's not just two, you hear the Republicans, there's two-tier justice system here, which there are for the wealthy and powerful and for everyone else. However, two-tier justice system there is for men and women, besides for rich or poor, for this religion over this religion, or this religion over all of these. It is Morocco is something we really need to dive into. We did cover school choice. The last thing before Boobert or Boobgate or Booey is climate and climate. All of it. What your opinions on? I'm sure you've seen all of the protesting, people getting arrested everywhere. It's quite beautiful, actually.
I actually haven't.
Oh, well.
I'm sorry. I was like a day behind this week on a lot of stories, and I didn't get
You're
to
forgiven.
Protests. Thank you.
Yes, you're forgiven. I mean, I had 2 kids, and it was like, ugh, it's like way more than one. Yeah. So
let me see what I was paying attention to. Let me look real quick, because I feel like there was more that I wanted to share. I want to just check it out. Oh. Okay, well, I went to my history and took me back to 2022. Why is it doing that?
Mhm.
Too far. Goodness.
Let's see.
Got some digital Hobby, got Kalinsky show, new Nazis. Some good music. Stuff about Digimon. Where's my Digimon fans at?
Smitty.
I was thinking it was Smitty.
He's got pets out the wazoo, and he loves them.
Goodness. I'm still in 2022. This is stupid. This is why I have to. This is why I have to have my phone on me during.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let me think. I know the Trump stuff was going on, but I've been starting to not care quite as much because it's been going on for a few weeks now, and it's going to be going on for quite a few months. The school lunches, free school lunches being passed in more states. That's been wonderful.
Yes. Yes. What state was it? Missouri? That just passed. He like snuck in. They wrote the legislation, and then right before it was to be signed, he changed the year for, instead of a year of budgeting for free lunches for the state, or 400 years. 400 years he did. Yep. There will be free lunches for every student, no matter what socioeconomic background you come from, what your mom drops you off in, or how you walk there or take a bus, will not matter. Mwah! That is what I want to see more of. That when a program, when a policy, a law is universal, everyone benefits, everyone pays into it. It is much harder to take away. Think of Social Security and Medicare. The wealthiest people do pay into it, and many of them will never use it. However, they are a small percentage of the masses of our nation, and most people use this, or their mothers do, or their aunts do, or their cousins. They know somebody, if not themselves, who benefit from these benefits. I do, when people call them entitlements, I actually like that. You're right. You're goddamn right. It's an entitlement. They are entitled to it. They paid into it. Just like the strikes that are going on. I believe that their pensions that they got taken away from them, their cost of living increases that they got taken away from them, that they agreed to have taken away from them, because in 2008 we had, major financial depression happen, and they wanted to make sure that they kept their jobs and these businesses stayed around, so everyone sacrificed. However, the CEOs and the boards, they're making millions and millions, and these people haven't had anything. So yeah, it's entitlements, and they're entitled to it. Yeah, I'm with them. I get goosebumps. I love seeing workers take their power back. I don't know if you guys pay attention to financial news. There was a guy this week, if you would like to hear him say it or watch to see who it was, he literally said he wants to see, he's a billionaire, by the way, more pain in labor. He wants higher layoffs and more unemployment. That until we have more pain in labor, that workers have too much power. I'm just like, dude,
I think you said
shut
we
the
need
fuck up.
a
Need a
rise
bag.
in unemployment to of 40% or to 40%. Am I
Yeah,
right?
up to 40%. I'm like, dude, 40% rise in unemployment? No, 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 no. Yeah.
No, I think um this this is the kind of thing that confuses me a little bit.
Mm.
Is because as far as I know, Christine and I still agree on like we want a good mixed economy, right? Um, we want, like we agree that there's a place for a market, right? But I feel like that's more of the viewpoint that we stand at. It's not that like we we're like, wow, the market just needs fixed. It's like, no, no, no. We're way over here saying we like socialism, but there's a place for a market. Um, so when I hear things like this, it makes me wonder, like, how much of a socialist am I?
Right.
When we're talking about topics like this, how much do we want to change the economy and our socialist, not hellscape, pipe dream land? Um, like uh, re- re- remind me the example you were just given, because I'm in
Oh,
our head.
the wealthy guy who wanted, he says that we need more, literally, we need
Yeah,
more pain.
yeah, we need more pain. What we
We need
need
to
is
feel more pain.
we need more worker control over the means of production, right?
Absolutely.
That's
Yes.
what makes you a socialist. Like I mean, I don't mean to sound too dichotomous, too black and
No.
white, talking about the two parties, but the Republican Party is again, starting. I'm sorry, starting. They're saying the quiet part out loud. Like Nikki Haley said, she's a union buster, or when they're just making the points on Fox News, it's just like, yeah, like unions are nice and everything, but you guys are thinking a little too pro family, too pro worker. We need pro market, right? It's like, no, I don't care about the market so much. I care about how workers are treated in the market, because the way that I look at things, we'll say any of these auto worker factories. We're back where we started. Uh, maybe it's a good thing to end on, is full circle.
It's like a
Uh,
circle.
yeah, just like one.
It's like a circle.
So let's say Ford is like a Ford is one of the auto workers
Mhm.
unions, right? So Ford says, look, we need you guys to agree to our terms, or we're just going to go to Mexico. The way that
Yeah.
I look as as a socialist, as someone who um strives to be anti-authoritarian,
Yes. Ugh.
the way I look at it is like, look, okay, you guys want to go to Mexico, if you guys even want to threaten it, okay, now the government's getting involved. We're going to flex back. We're going to subsidize your company. I'm kidding. I'm going to subsidize your workers' company, as soon as you leave, you forfeit your land and property. You take a machine out of there, we're coming at you federally. Right? You're stealing US property. It belongs to the workers. This country made you great. The resources are here. The workers made you great. They get the resources. And everyone in your administration who does like payroll and everything, we're going to say, hey, keep doing what you're doing. We're going to subsidize what we need to make sure that we keep these jobs here. And if you guys want to go make money elsewhere, that's great. That's fine. Keep what you have. We are actually going to open an investigation on you and see if you threw anything to the Cayman Islands to tax evade us, and then we'll come after you legally, and we'll put tariffs on you where we need to. But I would again caveat for the 30th time, this company doesn't belong to us. We're not taking it over. We're not taking your property. You are leaving it. You are forfeiting it. It belongs to your workers. It is by default a worker co-op.
Yes.
That's it. That's how I would deal with it. And that's how I feel like this administration or any good administration should deal with companies like that. Like, you want to leave our land? Look, we're America first, right? Because we're Americans first. We're American workers first. Because that's what socialism is.
The man Ford, he might have been a Nazi sympathizer or a goddamn Nazi himself. However, economically, he believed, why would I have workers who can't afford the trucks they're making? Why? I want every single one of my workers to be driving around in one of these trucks. I want them all to be able to afford a home, a partner, and their children and their children's needs on the, on the wage that I pay them. And I do want to touch on, in the chat, we have some economic discussions, which is really great. I agree, Smitty, social democracy is leftist capitalism, and you guys may or may not like TYT. You may or not like Cenk Uygur. However, he has a new book called Justice is Coming. It literally is a leftist capitalist book and how we can do it. And he's got all these amazing I haven't read it. I don't have it. I want to read it. I've done the excerpts. I've read everything that I can. I'm very excited to see what his ideas are. However, I agree with both Riley and Smitty. Economically, when it comes to big things like energy, oil, education, healthcare, these things, to me, should not be owned by a person or a group of just a handful of people. They should be owned by all of us. They should be nationalized. So on that, economically, I'm 100% with Riley. With Smitty, when it comes to a lot of other things, local economies, like when you go downtown, I believe social democracy is great. Regulations, the word regulation is just another word for protection. So whenever you hear we're going to make some more regulations, or we got to cut through the regulations, they're going to cut through or take away your protections. It's horrible. So more protections. Not saying bureaucracy can't be bad. It can. I'm not talking about bureaucracy. I'm talking about actual protections. These bad things happened. These people got involved. They wrote legislation to prevent that thing from happening. Yes, that corporation has to do more things to make sure those things don't happen, and it costs them money. That's why they don't want the regulations. The workers benefit from those regulations, just as citizens regulate from energy regulations to keep our waters clean, so on and so on. I agree with both. We don't have either here. We do not have a social democracy. We do not have a welfare state that would make sure that no one falls through the cracks. We just don't. We don't have health care. I would be happy as a clam to have Smitty's idea of social democracy here. Of course, I would want to go further on many different areas of our economy, and make sure that we codify those laws and protections so that they can't just be taken down or torn apart by the next fascist that gets elected because he lies to the people or is charismatic or has riz. Like, I don't care if you have riz, you're a fascist. Fascist is fascist does. So yeah, I directly connected social democracy to capitalism. Yeah. I'm not saying capitalism is evil. I'm saying if it's it cannot, capitalism, just capitalism, not social democracy, not with regulations, just capitalism cannot exist without a permanent underclass. That is unacceptable in my heart, to my mind, to the reality that I live in. I don't think that we should have a system that mandates that there be a permanent underclass in order so some people can get ahead. I think that just the basics of what Smitty said, those regulations to protect, to make sure that doesn't happen, to have a social democracy would be a billion times better than what we have. And then I'm also, Riley says I'm a communist, and Christy, I know there are many different also ideas and areas of this economy and world we live in that I also have those tendencies as well. And so I think that it would be such a good thing to have a healthy democracy where we get back the parties we used to have in this country before the duopoly took over. We had a communist party, a socialist party, we had a fascist party, we had a workers' party. There's to have a communist party, even if they don't ever hold the main power, they just are there to argue their ideas and to pull that. We are so far to the right in this country. Center right isn't even the middle. It's center right it's to the right of center right is the middle. And center right is now considered left in this country. They're calling people who are hardcore, damn near fascist authoritarians rhinos.
Yeah.
It's terrifying. So that Overton window, I think we would benefit as a people, as a nation, and as part of the world community by having more legitimate parties that are genuine to the ideology that they behold. So
Again,
the Conservative Party can't be conservative anymore because they don't behold those ideas, is what I'm saying.
It's all in the messaging. Again,
yes.
Republicans, the right in general, is really good at this. Like, this is left. Oh, that's bad, right? Or Rhino, a Republican in name only. Oh, well, they can't be trusted. Right? They just use dog whistles for everything, and it's so sad.
Marxist.
Incredibly
Joe
sad.
Biden, not a Marxist. Get it together, people.
Not at all. Something that is incredibly sad, and I want you to take pity on your right-leaning friends.
Yes.
The people who fall for this shit the most are the ones who are less educated. That's why they fall for all the dog whistles. They don't understand what an Overton window is.
Right.
They don't understand what manufacturing consent is. And I mean, a lot of people, even on the left, probably don't. And a lot of more educated people don't. But even people who are well educated, I'm not just saying people on the right are dumb. I think I say this 8 times a year that we don't have time to be educated about economics and this social political compass that we are working upon. We don't have time. We just don't have fucking time. And that is a product of someone else using up our time in this process, in this whatever the word I was looking for, of capitalism, process of capitalism, I guess. And it's a trap, right? Religion.
Oh yeah. If you can get people to believe that a man walked on water and that a virgin gave birth and he came back to life, then you can get them to kind of believe anything, or not believe, or not know what to believe. If you push tons of information out there, so much, we live in the age of information right now. However, if you don't have critical thinking, which I didn't, If you don't have logic, which I didn't, if you don't have these skills in your toolbox to discern, how do I know what they're telling me is true? Then it's overwhelming and you'll believe whatever.
I would like to push back on that just a little bit, just for excuse me.
Gosh, yeah.
And then I would like your opinion on how I push back on it. I don't like the idea being too prevailing of if you can get someone to believe in a magical man and the clouds and a virgin gave birth and all this, right? Because it sounds more conspiratorial than I think it actually is. I do not want to take away that the fact that people do use religion to control certain masses. It's happened on purpose before. There are very clear examples. Stalin is a good one. But that's not always the case. I think what happens much more often than not is that people kind of veer away from philosophy and epistemology and anything that could be linked back to it. So a lot of education and proving things in science, because they already believe. It's not that someone's getting them to believe it so we can have the rest of this capitalist or religiously ran worldview, but it's that since they do, it is such work by yourself to have all of these ideas contradicting yours, right?
Yes.
This double think. It is such work to bump into all of these other ideas.
We have a question. A good question. What is ranked choice voting? And I agree with the person who said we can't have more parties till we have ranked choice voting. I agree. We do have ranked choice voting in a couple states as of right now, and conservatives are flipping their fucking lid, saying that it is anti-democratic, that it takes away the vote from the people, and Republicans literally said the quiet part out loud again. Republicans will never win again with ranked choice voting.
We won democracy, and that's not it.
So ranked choice voting, I'll give an example. Let's say 2016, Bernie Sanders is running. Let's go back to then. I definitely don't want Trump, right? I'd rather not have Hillary. So I really want Bernie. So I write Bernie for my ranked choice number 1. My number 2 would be Hillary, of course, and then someone else, and then I leave the last one open. I don't even write Trump. Or you could write, that would be, or just leave it. I don't want to even put him on there. So what happens is they put in all the votes for number 1. If it didn't get enough, then my number 1 doesn't happen, but my number 2 would be who it would go to. And a ranked choice voting, I'd say do a little bit of that was just an example of how you would vote on a ranked choice voting ballot. Do a little bit, like a 5-minute More Perfect Union has a great video on ranked choice voting, breaks it down in layman's terms. It's amazing. It literally would help so that, you know, it wouldn't be the lesser of two evils. It would be, this is my number 1 choice, and if I can't have that person, then I'll take this person. And if that person doesn't work, then this person. And then I don't want anybody if those ones can't, kind of thing, instead of a zero sum. You know, ranked choice voting works in a lot of very healthy democracies who have been graded by the Democracy Index internationally as a healthy democracy. You guys know that we have been downgraded in the last 2 grading periods, right? We're a flawed democracy. So it's quite terrifying. We were a flawed democracy before January 6th. We are at the bottom of there's healthy democracy, and then you get to the bottom of that, and then flawed democracy, and you can get to the bottom of that section. We're at the bottom of that section, about to be not in a democracy. Autocracy would be the next. And
yeah, ranked choice voting. Just so I give you a little more info, heat shield, because yeah, you've been missing out. it really blows the idea of vote blue no matter who, or voting lesser of two evils out of the water, because you can still put your second choice towards the top of the ballot, right? That's maybe the lesser of two evils, but it really actually lets you vote your conscience, which is what most people would really rather do. And if you can rank your choices, it enables people to actually vote their conscience first. So it enables more third party candidates, and even some like Democratic, like say there's two Democratic candidates that you really like, and the one that's held up by the DNC you don't like quite as much, you could again put Bernie first, and then if you want to Hillary, and then so on and so forth. And it really does just give the people more of a choice, which is what democracy is in the first place. So it is just bringing more democracy to the people, and it helps destroy, fuck up, throw a monkey wrench in the gears of a two-party system. And that's why we don't have it, is because both parties would know that they would lose power. I mean, if you just look at the RNC and the DNC, as they're the ones that are the puppet masters for all of this, if you want to think that way, I wouldn't say you are right or wrong either way in thinking that way, because I think it's true to a certain extent. If those two conventions are really running how we do party politics and kind of run our economy, because of all the donations that they get in, and how they get to choose who's in charge, and the strings that they get to pull, and the shows that they get to send people from their conventions onto. They have so much power. If any third party starts to take away their power, they start to take away their money. And money is power, right? Money is voting rights currently in this system. So if we get through some ranked choice voting, it's a downhill slide for the RNC and the DNC. It's just a downward slope. They have nowhere to go but down, because their parties will change, and they could see because
Titan broke it down in like a sentence. In terms of party, let's say you'd prefer the Green Party candidate, so you put them first, then the Democrats second. If when the Green Party doesn't have enough votes, then it goes to the Democratic Party. Yeah, that was very. What it took me forever and I wasn't able to do, you did in a sentence, so whatever. I know. Don't look at my comment before that. It's not about you, Matt.
I'm so excited that Heat Shield didn't know about this, because that's what like you learned new on our show. I'm so glad that we mentioned it. I'm sorry, not that our chat mentioned it, and that we saw it in the chat.
Every time. Wonderful. I will be reading the chat and taking notes, because I'm like, oh, I don't know about that all the time. Yeah, I love being with you guys. Are super smart. So let's see. Don't tell me you're gonna let Velcro Band-Aid open for you. Oh yeah, we have a new band, Mac. We're the Thorny Ethics.
Thorny Ethics?
Thorny, yeah, ethics get thorny, apparently. I just saw ethics get really thorny, and I was like, that's our new band, Thorny Ethics.
I like it.
And apparently we're gonna have Velcro Band-Aid open, or we're not. I'm not really sure. We'll have ranked choice voting. I guess we'll find out. Oh gosh, no. Ranked choice voting is something that multiple states are fighting to achieve right now. I know two that it is their ballots are ranked choice. And the one that achieved it first, which for some reason I don't remember if it's Maine, it is Upper East Coast. Their MAGA elected officials that are in there are doing everything they can to eliminate it, to stop it. Now it's part of their law right now. It is what it is. They would have to, go before the courts and go through the whole thing, but they're trying. And the way that you try that is you start putting it out there that this is anti-democratic. You start talking to the people that are voters that go out to these rallies, and you start telling them all this misinformation so that they can tell others and others and others. And now you have a narrative, and now you have people who will show up and vote at that referendum on the ballot saying they don't want ranked choice voting, even though just 2-3 years ago they had a referendum on their ballot stating that they did want it, and it won overwhelming. So hopefully, I'm in Florida, you're in Ohio. What?
Doesn't New York City have ranked choice voting?
I actually couldn't tell you yes or no. I mean, it sounds
that happened in 2018.
It sounds familiar. I know there was a couple cities that were doing it on trial, just as we had multiple places doing the 4-day work week. You guys know I covered that on the show in 2023. Yeah, that the CEOs, the management team, the board of directors, everybody is super happy. They get more done. Everybody's happier. They get the same pay for 40 hours, for 32 hours. And that's what the UAW, back to this first topic, these strikers want to have a 4-day work week with the same pay. All I heard this week from conservatives, they want to work less and more benefits. They want more benefits and they want less hours. And, we don't even need to retire. Who was it? Charlie Kirk. So one of them this week said he doesn't even believe it. Oh, sorry, Sean Hannity. I don't even believe in retirement. Dude, if you sat in a $7,000 suit, making $40,000 for an hour-long show Monday through Friday. Actually, he works 4 days a week right now. Like, and makes millions. Yeah, exactly.
Your choice. Retire choice. I believe retired choice.
I just, 50 years ago, the Republican Party was talking about innovation and capitalism, helping to breed this type of innovation that will bring machines and lots of things that would do the work for us as a society. We'll go to a 4-day work week and then maybe a 3-day work week with the same pay, because our machines will do it for us and we'll all benefit. And this is why it's so important to be a part of all these things. And now that they're here, they're like, I know that in America we're dying earlier, which the average age for a Black man in the South is 68 years old. They want to raise the retirement age from 65 to 68. Why? Only Black men.
Because it's closer to 75.
Yeah.
Why?
White men have gone. It's declining. Our age is that universal, the average is declining here. It is going up in a lot of other nations, but it is declining here. And at the same time that it's declining here, the birth morbidity, there we go, of Black women is 4 to 6 times than white women. And it's 6 in certain states, 4 is the nation average. They also want to mandate pregnancies. There's one party that wants to push their ideology onto everyone else in a fascist way, and another one who I don't agree with on, 80%. However, they do agree with democracy. And if we have a democracy, I can at least be a part of it and fight from the inside. If I'm a fascist, I'm gay, married to a woman, I'll be the first one unalived. And they're going so hard against the LGBT. They went against gay marriage. Now it's legal everywhere. Oh, speaking of gay marriage, this being an opinion show. Okay, before we cover the Bobert, Okay, so you guys remember so if you want to go get married, you go to the county clerk, the clerk of court, and you fill out the paperwork, and the clerk of court gives you the paperwork saying you can get married. Now you go to the court and you get married, right? She has to give you the thing that you applied for. There was a woman, I don't remember her name or which state she was in. She had long bushy hair, and she refused that it was against her religion. However,
like
she works as a civil servant. That means she works for the state. She is a state employee, a federal employee. This is what she does for the state. There's nothing to do with her personal. This isn't her business. She doesn't get to her personal religion doesn't get to come into it. Here's your job, things you have to do for this position. You work as that position. That means you do these things. That's how it is. It's that simple. Well, she refused. And she lost, and the city, of course, because she's the civil servant, had to pay 80 million or 80,000. I'm glad this is an opinion show. Confirm that it is 80,000 or 80 million. What they have to pay? But now the two guys who that video that went viral of her refusing to hand them a marriage license, they sued her personally. And I guess I'll find out, within the next couple. Good. And she should not have that job anymore. Okay, let's talk about the boobert. The boobert. We never really gossip, and this is totally salacious gossip because, okay, hold on. Caveat. If this was anybody who wasn't a hypocrite or trying to take away, the things I hold dear on a daily basis, I don't care that she's filling up the guy. I don't care that he's grabbing her boob so hard it looks painful. I don't care. I really don't care. If she wasn't someone saying we can't have drag shows because children might see at a live theater event where it's 10 and up, grabbing on the crotch hardcore, like she needed to hold on or she'll fly away. And I mean, I've never was he checking for lumps? What was he doing? Like he was trying to count her ribs through her fake boobies. He really was getting in there. And then to vape, you care about families and family values and pregnant women and all, this is what she stands on. And the pregnant woman behind her was like, excuse me, can you please stop vaping in here? It says it everywhere. You can't. She told her to fuck off. And the guy she was on a date with there is a Democrat, which, I mean, like I said, I wouldn't care if she wasn't a hypocrite. But he owns a bar that does drag shows. Oh, Lord have mercy. I just want to shake the shit out of that little bitch. But, that's just me. Maya's back. It's a good show tonight, Maya. Good show tonight. So I did see her come out immediately saying that she doesn't remember vaping. She even had her team say that she denies the vaping, that there was not anything inappropriate, that she thinks it's the Democrats' fault because she was in a very liberal area and they probably recognized her and wanted to kick her out. It's basically her story until the theater heard her story. And the theater was like, contrairement frere. We didn't want to put this out because that's not how we do things. See, what had happened was she's out here lying. So shootings have been a big thing, right? So theaters who have a good income and they have good revenue have invested in, and not just recently, like, within the last decade, in night vision cameras, so that if there was a shooting or anything inappropriate, they would have evidence of it. So not only can we see his fingernails while he's groping her, we can see her hold on to one log sausage and one hand on his log sausage and the other hand on his log sausage. We can see her hit the vape and blow it out. We can see all these things. Yeah. I mean, like I said, if it was just anyone else they're just a good person. She's been in a marriage since she was a kid. She's free. Of course she wants to be a little crazy. I don't hold any of that against her. I hold what she stands for as policies, what she's out there preaching. And then I see her doing that and I'm like, right, that's a normal person. You're going to be mad at people for being normal and having a good time. I'm saying there's a place for everything. You shouldn't be grabbing log sausages in front of 10-year-old kids, that actually is not grooming, but it's not appropriate. You know, God. And then for her to say just being in drag is a crime. Just being in drag is groomerville. And then she's like, in the theater. Yeah. Oh, they told her that, you know, she even pulled the, do you know who I am? Yeah, everyone does. So I don't know if you had any opinions on the vape gate boobert or lion ass.
We have Paul here. Hi, Paul.
Oh!
Welcome.
Okay,
well,
Ember, hold on. Ember mentioned us. I listened to it for a long time, listening to a show. I was great. And then I fell asleep right before he mentioned us. So the next day I had to figure out where I was in this very long stream. And I listened to it, and I ended up coming back home after a walking bean. And I guess I didn't have enough coffee in me. I literally fell asleep like 20 minutes after he mentioned us. I still have not listened to the other half of that stream. It's so long. But we are mentioned as someone he was going to check out, and I see Ember in here right now. What's up, my dude?
Hi, Amber.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I have to keep a little promise to Smitty.
Okay.
So I organized my toys.
Oh yeah, it's important.
I was gonna move the camera, but I don't feel like it. I'm gonna. Oh, I already lost one.
Well,
Where's my balance? I teach martial arts. All right, so this is my little Digimon figurine collection on a cool little tray that I had a friend at work make for me.
I think Smitty wants to come over and have a play date immediately.
Come on over, Smitty. I'm gonna put it back up here. I don't keep it in my background. It's actually up here on my shelf. One of my sons over a lot of times will just come in here. A few of those are actually his, and he loves them as much as I do. So
that's
we just
adorable.
go on the stairway and we play with them. There's fun.
Of course you do. You guys, I love that.
The Digimon.
Playing with kids is one of the best part, if not the best part of having kids. It literally, I mean, let's go get your Barbies and go play in the slip and slide. Let's go.
See, I don't play Barbies because our youngest daughter is actually in love with Power Rangers, and I'm like, oh, I've got those too. So we just play Power Rangers. Every now and then she grabs a Barbie, and she usually grabs some stuffed
animals.
Cats, yeah, especially cats and unicorns. And sometimes we have to save them. Sometimes they are here to help.
Yes, of course.
It is what it is.
Yes, it is.
Isabel
didn't into Barbies a lot either. However, we got the tiki bar and the Barbie pool, and we had this long slip and slide, and we'd set the Barbie pool on one side of it and the tiki on the other side, and so we could lay in the slip and slide and stay cool. And the Barbies, because it was like a thing that we did, she would bring her brats, and we'd be out there all day playing with Barbies, jumping in the pool, coming back over here to the bar. But the Kens always had to make the drinks and do all the work. It was Isabel. I mean, I let her, you know, sometimes I would say something and she's like, that's not how she talks. I'm like, how does she talk then? Not like that. Playing with kids is so much fun. It's so much fun. I had a lot of fun tonight. We'll have to do this again annually, you know, before a lot of stuff is about to happen in October, November. So, yeah, just opinions. We don't have to worry about, you know, sources and fact checking. Is literally what we've covered, what's happening right now, and how we feel and our opinions on it. It was a lot of fun. The rants were genuine and organic, and I had a lot.
No, I feel like I need to caveat that now that Paul has showed up and we have a Canadian in the chat. The opinion that I shared about Canada may have just been a silly joke in the chat. You can totally look it up. It was funny. But no. Thank you guys so much for joining us. We love you guys so much. In a fortnight, we will have some Morocco, I believe, to talk about.
Yeah.
And we will. I don't know what I'm going to cover yet. I will figure it out eventually. I'm pretty sure it's going to be economic though.
Yay.
Economic.
Yeah,
So
we'll be back to facts and all that stuff
yeah,
on the next.
eventually I really want to show what I've been working on in like ancient Israelite culture and the neighboring like Sumerian religions. I would love to share that at
Yeah,
some
super
point, sometime. So I'll bring that to you guys when we have time in the show. But news is always so crazy. We only share like a quarter of what we listen to every
yeah.
week. So
Yeah, having
but
to choose sometimes is so hard, you guys. It really is. I just have to think about what will bring the most, what people need to have the most information on everything that I've learned this week. So
yeah,
sometimes I get information from you guys too. How about this? How about this? I talked to Smitty and Grant, and we'll get back do this or Mac or Nacha. Hey, cover this. Yeah, that sounds good. So love you guys. Thank you for coming to our opinion show, our first annual. Hopefully, fingers crossed we remember. Annual
just
Leah.
remind solidarity to the the
Wait,
UAW
yeah, the big
work
three. Yes,
and stay humanist
for
for God's
godless sake. Workers of the world unite.